Welcome to the lecture. I'm Cynthia McAllister. In this lecture, you will learn about the Learning Conference format. Let's hear from teacher Sabina McNamara.
The Learning Conference is a format of the Learning Cultures curriculum. And it is a format in which you have a conversation with a student based on four very simple components. One, you have to be able to have a conversation in which the students can articulate what their strengths are in the given area. Two, the student needs to be able to articulate how they are growing or getting stronger at that particular area. Three, the student needs to be able to discuss and articulate what they need to do to get stronger at that given area. And then four, the student needs to set a goal. Now, those four components happen where the students need to be able to articulate those things, but then also the teacher is given an opportunity to give the student feedback on what their strengths are, how they're growing, what their needs are, and setting goals. So it's a conversation it should be a dynamic dialogue in which the teacher is asking some questions, the students giving some feedback, the students asking questions, the teacher's giving feedback. It should look more like a conversation than a prescribed set of question and answers. Because the students are oftentimes working on a wide range of material, and because the students are in a learning cultures classroom, agents of their own learning, you are kind of sitting next to them saying, hey, what are you working on? What do you need? What do you think is going well? How are you getting stronger at this? How is this going to strengthen you as a learner? What kind of steps do you need to take next? What do you need to do? Okay, now let's set some goals together. Now the teacher again is acting as facilitator, but the teacher does have the opportunity to give feedback. Let's face it, we are an expert. This is an opportunity for us to say, hey, here's what I think you need to do for this given piece. The standards, the Common Core learning standards should be guiding this work. The standards should be out side by side with you, the student, and the student, so that the student understands that there are larger expectations for that given work that they're doing. The learning conferences should happen, during the work time. They should be scheduled. You, the teacher, should have a schedule. The students should also be knowledgeable of the schedule so that they come to the conference prepared. They know that they expect you coming, so they're prepared with, something that they're working on or a particular question they have. It should happen at least twice during the work time if you have that opportunity, depending on how large of a time you have for your work time. And this equity piece comes in again because you need to make sure that you see students an equal amount of times. So that means if you're seeing students once, you need to see every student once. If you're seeing students twice a month, you have to see every student twice a month. Now, the learning conferences should be no more than 10 minutes, and I mean it, 10 minutes. So that means you get in, you talk about it, you set goals, and you get out. If you feel like the conversation's going nowhere, or if you feel like you're not sure, or something happens, or if the student is summarizing the text and taking a really long time, you have to keep that mindset. In 10 minutes, we need to cover these four things: strengths, signs of growth, needs, and goals. Keep that in your mind as you're going, and trying these learning conferences with the students. And keep in mind that the students, since they are agents, that they need to do a bulk of the talking as well. So you are sitting amongst the students. You're not pulling them away from the group, because when you're sitting at a table with one student and there's other students around, you've got a much larger opportunity for then the other students to listen in, to chime in, to get what you're saying, to hear that teachable moment, or to understand or relate to that student and their competencies even more. Learning culture conferences happen on an equitable basis. And in order to ensure equity for the students, you teachers have to be holding yourselves accountable to that. And so what we do is we keep track of our records. We keep charts of how often we're meeting with students, when we meet with them, to make sure that we actually are equitable. And we're making sure that we're documenting every conversation we have with a student. Sometimes you have students that really need you. right? Let's face it, we have students that struggle, that need us more often. So we are creating space in our day for those students, and we're documenting everything. Every conversation that you have with a student should be on that record, because what you'll see happening over time is if you have 4 or 5 reading conferences with Joe, after 4 or 5 reading conferences, a narrative will start to develop about the student as a learner. So then they'll start to see over time their strengths overall. And then hopefully the idea is that if you are setting concrete goals that are achievable for the student, eventually those goals or those areas of need will then become the strengths. And that's a very powerful piece. That's a very powerful component to your teaching. And it's a very powerful piece of evidence for the administration, for administrators about the work you're doing. It's a very powerful piece for the family members and the parents that can understand what the students are doing, what their child is doing. And it's really important for the students to be able to see that, yeah, I am kind of keeping track of you and your progress over the year. And this is, this is one way that I'm doing it. So it's really important to keep accurate records, to keep on top of your records, check in with yourself, making sure that you are, meeting with the students on an equitable basis, and that you are monitoring that